Welcome to the Northwest Geology Guy. My name is Scott, and I'll be your host today. And I'm not quite sure why my first attempt at this only had 2 seconds recorded, but we'll go ahead and redo the whole thing. I kind of hate that because it delays my video from getting up. But okay, well, we're going to be doing a weekly earthquake update. We had a lot of seismicity over the whole Ring of Fire in the last week. We had almost 2,900 earthquakes, and the Ring of Fire was pretty well lit up. Even here on the West Coast, over into Utah and Montana, we had a lot of seismicity along with California. But we'll start up here at Washington, where I'm at. And we had quite a bit of earthquake activity here in the week with a few probably quarry blasts. Let's take a look. Okay, no, that may not have been a quarry blast up in Morton. It's probably blasting stumps. My family was from Morton, Washington. Loggers up in that area. Over here in Desert Air, I was reading a paper. I need to go back and reread the whole thing. It's a professional paper from USGS, so it's kind of heavy reading, so you really need to take your time reading it because it has a lot of technical stuff in there, and you got to be able to decipher it and kind of understand it. It's not like reading normal writing. But there's been something going on over here since it has something to do with the folding in the area over here in Yakima, because of all that has to do with the subduction zone coming in a northeasterly direction, and the San Andreas pushing up. It rotates all of the subduction zone to the northeast, kind of clockwise, and then hits the mountains up here in BC. They call it the buttress, and it just stops right there. It won't allow it to proceed past it. But we get a lot of folding and squeezing, especially in Washington, since we're at the end of it. But I'll try to read that. If it's something I think that would be good for you guys that I could talk about, I'll go ahead and update you on that. Well, let's see that. That was not too long ago. 2.1. All the earthquakes in eastern Washington are very shallow. You'll never see deep quakes over there in eastern Washington. But we had a lot of earthquakes up here in Montana, down into Yellowstone and Idaho. Kind of typical, but there's been a little bit of swarming, not major swarming. I listened to Michael Pollan's monthly update for Yellowstone, and besides Steamboat Geyser setting records about every week, there was not much else he talked about. You don't hear him. They don't really tell you anything that might be scary. It's all, smiles and nice little things. Oh yeah, there was some uplift and stuff like that, but never want to tell you that, when they're really concerned about an area, they never seem to mention it. I think it's probably because the potential devastation from a Yellowstone eruption, they don't want to spook the people and have the economy crash and everything if they get, start telling you that they're worried that it's going to erupt and stuff like that. So, but the rest of the observatories, like over here in Portland, CVO, Menlo Park down in California, Hawaii's HVO, they don't, they give you pretty much the truth straight up what's going on. But Yellowstone, I think they kind of dance around the dangers and really don't want to tell you until they think it's going to blow. But I think our first indication that there's major problems here is the plume coming up from the eruption. But that's just my opinion. But down here in California, we still had a lot of seismicity down here between LA and San Diego, all the way down to the border. We had a lot up here in Ridgecrest and Coso. San Andreas always has a lot of quakes. Even over here, you're not going to tell me what fault it is. Okay. I love that. But Yeah, we had a lot of seismicity here in California. Even over here in Nevada, there's been a lot of quakes. But nothing too major, nothing earth-shaking. We did have one here on the Blanco fracture zone. And no, don't get worried about quakes on the west side of the Juan de Fuca. That's all fracture seafloor spreading centers. They have a little bit of effect on the subduction zone, only for the reason is when there's an expansion, spreading, it does put a little bit of pressure over here, but it's not going to be the trigger to a rupture on the the Cascadia. You worry about the quakes that are on the subduction zone there. Those are the ones that seismologists and geologists really take a good look at. But let's move down here to Central America. Come on. With all these quakes, it really slows down the computer. Not too much activity down here at all, pretty small. We had one 5.2 here at the border between Guatemala and Mexico. South America, we've had some activity down here. We had a pretty good sized one down here in Chile, where in 1960 they had the strongest quake ever reported as a 9.5. I believe it was in March or April of that year. I was born in October. I just had my birthday yesterday, so I kind of remember that. But nothing too many. It was a 6.8. It was pretty good sized quake. There was no tsunami generated, but as you can see, there's a lot of aftershocks. Let's go in here and take a look and see how many we have here. 11 so far. 10 aftershocks in the main shock. But Chile's used to very strong quakes. The subduction zone down there moves a lot faster than Cascadia. And same with Central America. The Cocos Plate and the Nazca Plate subduct a lot faster than the Juan de Fuca Plate does. Okay, South Sandwich has seen a couple earthquakes. So one very recently, 5.1, and I think the other one's 5.1 or 5.2, 5.0. Okay. And usually when the quakes come down here through South America on the west side, they usually will terminate down here in the South Sandwich Islands, which that's quite common. When you see a lot of heavy activity here, you know that one's coming down there too. Over here in Indonesia and Sumatra is 5.1 in the Philippines and a 6.2. Now, they're always used down here in Mindanao area, used to having a lot of heavy activity. Usually doesn't do too much damage. It's out here. They're kind of surrounded by subduction zones up here too, so they have a lot of problems with quakes in the Philippines, along with volcanoes too. But we can go over here to China. We had a 5-pointer here. Not much activity there. Tibet had a quake, 5-point over there. A little bit of movement over here. Nothing too much, but you can usually see how the earthquakes propagate to the west. You get one over here, they start to follow the fault lines all the way over here into Turkey, over here, and they kind of terminate out here around Spain. They can go sometimes move up here. If you have a quake in Italy, it can go up into France. You don't see many quakes in the UK and France, but France will see quakes from time to time. Not much here on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Well, that's too much. There we go. But we did have one down here. It was a 5.2. So that was pretty quiet over there. We did have one out here around the Canary Islands. There is a volcano over there that I've kind of been looking at. But it's not really too active right now. But Australia has been pretty free of earthquakes for a while. They've had every now and then they'll have around a 5-pointer so pop off down there, but it's pretty quiet seismically, so that's good there. But all along down here around, where is it, New Zealand. There's always a lot of quakes between Tonga and New Zealand. But they did have a 5.3 at 10 kilometers deep. But this fault line that goes all the way down through here, it's always going off. Christchurch has been hit really hard with big quakes. They're not very deep either, so they do a lot more damage. But pretty much there was nothing really super major happen over the week that caused any major loss of life or anything. But it has been seismically active. I do believe now that I have for a while, but I do believe that some of the big earthquakes are associated with the solar activity that hits us, and either heavy solar winds or coronal CMEs that hit us. So you notice if we get hit with a CME, that's a coronal mass ejection. You'll see big earthquakes pop off, like within a day or two of the flare hitting us. But let's just hope that everything stays calm. As exciting it is to look at and study the big earthquakes, they usually come with damage and death or injury. So let's just hope everything stays calm and quiet. I did this because it was a viewer request. My last video, I asked you guys what you wanted to see in the coming videos. So you guys wanted to see earthquake updates, learn more about rocks and things like that. I'll talk more about faults. It's been a while since I've talked about earthquake faults, so I'll kind of go over them again for any of the new viewers. But it's not too hard to understand how the faults move and things. But it should be a fun video. So you all take care, and hopefully this video will be better than the last. All right, take care, guys. See you soon. Bye-bye.